it is not Wednesday, my dudes, which means it's time for another first thoughts and initial impressions video. This will be the first for Etheria restart here on the channel, and it will be focusing on the two newest characters that were just shown, Hoyan and Holden, both of which should be out within a couple of hours to maybe a day or so after this video airs. In case you're new here and have never seen any of my first thoughts and initial impressions videos for other games, I'll give you my 2 cents on the character here in this video series. Do I think the characters are good? Are they useful for PvE? Are they useful for PvP? How would I build them? All of that stuff I'll talk about here in this video. In case you don't know me from Epic 7, I've been playing these types of games for roughly about a decade at this point, and have cleared most of the PvE content in games like it with relatively free-to-play friendly teams. And on the PvP side of things, I usually rank somewhere around the top 1,000 to top 500 players. So those are basically my credentials for these impressions videos. Anyways, let's not waste any more time and jump into the character's kit so that way we're all on the same page, starting with Hoyan. First up is Hoyan's basic attack skill, Relentless Hunt. It is a 2-hit attack on a single target, each with a chance to inflict anti-heal, or as it's known on the current global version of the game, wound to the target for 2 turns. After that, let's move on to Hoyan's skill 3 because you need to understand it in order for the S2 to make sense, and that is Execution Right. It is a single target attack that ignores a portion of the target's defense, but as a cost, you lose half of your current HP upon activation. And finally, we come to Hoyan's skill 2 passive, which is the most complicated and important part of the character's entire kit. And sadly, the reveal trailer has most of the text cut off, so allow me to explain to you what this thing does. Dissolution says that whenever Hoyan dies, she will revive with a portion of her max health depending on how much you have this thing skilled up. And then, upon revival, she will counterattack with her skill 3 ultimate on the target that killed her. The cooldown for the revival is 4 to 5 turns based on the skill level of the passive. There's also a second part to this passive that says that whenever Hoyan manages to kill an enemy, 3 things will happen. Number 1, she will revive a fallen ally on your team. Number 2, anything that she defeats cannot be revived. And number 3, she will receive an undispellable attack boost called Fleeting Glance, which can stack up to 3 times, each of which can grant up to 40% attack based on the skill level of this passive. Now that we know Hoyan's kit, let's talk about how good or bad I think she'll actually be. This character, by the way, appears to be fundamentally unchanged from how she was when I used her back in the beta in January, which is to say, someone that feels pretty strong for PvP, but I'm very skeptical about her performance in PvE. Some of you out there who are longtime viewers of this channel who play Epic 7 probably have noticed when I was talking about her kit that it appears to be a mashup of Apocalypse Ravi and Arbiter Vildred, which is actually a pretty good thing. Having a character with a passive that revives and immediately ultimates is very strong in a gear grinder gacha like this one that has PvP. A lot of the fast, aggressive teams that you'll be playing against are going to try to delete you immediately before you ever get a turn, and Hoyan completely denies that type of strategy. Their win condition has to kill Hoyan at some point, which in turn will cause her to revive and kill them back without any way for them to draft a reviver as a cleave anchor. If they choose to ignore Hoyan, well, she's probably going to be built with a buttload of damage, and you could just kill their most important piece on the board, which gives you a major leg up in any match. Basically, her passive creates a no-win scenario against aggressive teams, which means in the early days of Etheria restart, she's going to hold a lot of value for players who are serious about PvP. I want to point out, by the way, that Messiah actually kind of dumpsters her when you think about it. He uses his S3, it can kill her, he's going to have invincibility, she'll turn around and counter, he'll just laugh and face tank it. Yeah, so there's that to keep in mind. Anyways, for those of you who aren't jumping into the world of PvP yet and only care about focusing on PvE in the short term, Hoyan doesn't really offer a whole lot for you, I feel like. She's largely a single target Anuk who isn't going to be putting up better numbers most likely than someone like Chloros or Deeting, and for Doki Doki, Real Mocha seems like she's going to be a better option for you. The best value that Hoyan offers you for PvE is the wound on her basic attack, which can be super important for early game fights like Dahlia, as well as some of the harder ones that are going to need that unhealable status later on. As for how you build her, straight damage makes the most sense since you're guaranteed an attack if she dies, so you might as well make it so that she hits as hard as possible. This means that module sets like Kenai and Fury are going to be obvious go-to choices, but I could see things like Swift Rush or Swift Raid once we start to unlock those modules being pretty good options if you want to go for kind of like a general use DPS instead of just a straight nuker. Right side module main stats are most likely going to end up being crit rate percentage as well as double crit damage percentage, because as we've talked about in other videos, crit damage percentage just seems like it's way better than attack percentage in this game, at least when it comes to the damage formula. Overall, I think Hoyan is a pretty solid choice for players who are serious about PvP and are looking for ways to slow down very annoying aggressive teams. Anyways, let's move on now and talk about the other SSR that was shown alongside Hoyan, and that is Holden.
雑談はせん。時間の無駄だ。用があるなら早く言え。
Alright, I gotta say it before we actually talk about the skills and go over them. His name is Holden, so I'm just gonna refer to him as Mr. Bofa. Like, there's just no way around it. Guy's first name is Holden, last name Bofa. You're just gonna have to deal with it. Moving on to Mr. Bofa's skills, it is punishment for the basic attack skill up first. This is a 3-hit single target attack, each with a percentage chance based on skill level to inflict defense down on the target, and it scales off of Mr. Bofa's defense. It also has a passive component called Execution Mode. At the start of battle, Mr. Bofa gains counterattack rate and damage percentage up based on his maximum defense. Moving on to his skill 2, it is Strike Through. It is a single target attack with up to a 100% chance based on skill level to push back the target's turn meter by up to 100% and fully resets all of their skill cooldowns. This move scales off of Holden's maximum defense. And finally, we come to Mr. Bofa's ultimate, which is Steadfast Conviction. It's a 2-hit AoE attack with each hit having up to a 50% chance based on skill level to dispel one buff from all enemies before inflicting attack down and resistance down for 2 turns. If this move lands a critical hit, the chance to apply the debuffs is doubled. This move, just like all of Holden's other moves, scales off of his maximum defense. And now that we know Holden Bofa's skill set, let's talk about the character, and holy, what a crazy good character this guy is. If you could only pull for one of the 2 Animus that's going to be on Raid Up during this week or 2, I think Holden is the way to go. In Gear Grinder Gachas, the strongest thing that you could do in PvP content is cause some kind of loss of control for your opponent, such as stun, a massive turn meter loss, or a cooldown reset. Holden has 2 out of those 3 things in just one skill, which is his skill 2 alone. And the values on that skill are just insane to me. Usually a turn meter pushback is 20 to 40% on most moves, but this one is a full 100%. Cooldown pushbacks are amongst the most broken things you can do in this game as well. Just look at Lily, who most people consider to be the best Animus in the game, with her AoE 1-turn cooldown pushback. Holden's move may only be single target, but it resets that character's entire skills to maximum, which is insane to me. Then we look at the opposite end of the spectrum into his PvE usage. The strongest things that you could do in PvE content are buff stripping and defense breaking. Buff strip allows you to get around immunity, which makes a lot of content problematic, such as the Inferno difficulty of Termaton or just Aurora in general. Defense break allows your main DPS to pump out absurd amounts of damage, killing things way easier than normal and allowing you to farm more modules at warp speed. This guy does both of those things in his kit on his skill 3 as well as his basic attack skill. And he's in the perfect color for both Inferno Termaton as well as Aurora, making him a super easy slot in for anyone who seriously wants to clear these types of content. And for some reason, if all of that wasn't enough, the character's passive basically gives him the full set bonus of the Bramble module set and a bunch of free damage to boot just for building him tanky. The character on paper just feels like a must pull, at least at this very early stage in Etheria Restart's lifespan, since he just checks so many boxes for so many players who are struggling in both PvE and PvP content right now. As for how I build him, there's 2 very clearly distinct builds here. You can build him fast on things like Swift Rush and eventually Swift Raid to make sure he strips immunity at the start of threshold fights like Termaton and Aurora. If that's the case, you'll want to focus on a mix of effect accuracy modules on the right side and perhaps 1 or 2 defense percentage in order to make him tankier and dish out some chip damage here or there with his counterattacks. If you decide to play him for PvP though, you're going to want to go full bruiser, stacking as much defense as you can due to the module bonuses from things like Unbreakable set, Bramble set, and eventually the Colossal Guard set. The modules are probably going to be a bit trickier for the right side. In an ideal world, you want to play 1 crit rate, 1 crit damage, and 1 defense bonus module each, but I'm not sure that'll give you enough crit chance and crit damage stats, so you're going to have to kind of play around with the numbers and experiment. Perhaps something like 2 crit rate modules and 1 crit damage bonus module, and let the set bonuses carry the defense percentage for you from there in order to get the most out of the counter passive and the bonus damage. Overall, I think Mr. Bofa is an incredible first banner after release, and between him and Hoyan, I think he's just going to be the higher value pull for most players. Right now, many players are struggling versus the higher tier Terramaton fights, and with the hotfix to Aurora, others are looking for solutions to that fight, and Holden can be that character for you. His kit is very flexible and appears to be very powerful, which is why I'll personally be prioritizing him first. But those are just my initial thoughts on Hoyan as well as Holden. And now I want to hear from you. Which of the 2 characters do you like more? Do you think that Hoyan is stronger than Holden? Holden is stronger than Hoyan? Would love to know any and all of that down in the comments section below. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later now.